Welcome to Reality Creative Video. I'm Hermes, and today is Chromium. Yes, this electric fluorescent yellow liquid here is chromium, and I am as surprised as you are that it's got color. I expected it to be clear, but after about 10 minutes of cooking it, it started to turn light yellow, and this is about a little over an hour's worth of cooking. And it's turned into this this yellowish color. This is a 21 parts per million solution, which will come out to about 130 micrograms a teaspoon, or 5 milliliters, if you were to take it, which is about what I wanted to cook it up to, because the minimum requirement for your body in chromium is 25 micrograms, 25 to 35 micrograms. Researchers and people that are on diets, and the diet supplements themselves, will vary between 200 to 1,000 micrograms in a capsule. So at 125 or 130 micrograms per teaspoon, if you took two teaspoons of this stuff at 20 parts per million, you would be at about 225 micrograms of stuff, which puts you right on the on the low end of what the supplements are, some of the chromium supplements are at. Now keep in mind, chromium, this is colloidal chromium and not ionic chromium. So with ionic chromium, you have a lot more waste. With colloidal chromium, you're not going to have the waste, so 130 micrograms of chromium may be all you need. You'll have to experiment with that. Now, chromium has been said to help control type 2 diabetes and improve your glucose levels. It also has been, if people that were taking anywhere over 200 micrograms of chromium a day to up to 1,000 micrograms of chromium a day, had lower body fat. They had more muscle mass and lower body fat. Those, those claims are like debatable, because naturally they're put on by people trying to sell the supplements. So you'll have to experiment to see if it helps. I myself have taken chromium. I haven't tried this particular chromium. I have chromium which we cook with stainless steel. You know how when we cook stainless steel, we get iron, chromium, and nickel. So I'm looking to get rid of the nickel out of that, and to be able to increase the amount of chromium that I can put in there. Because now if I want to increase the amount of chromium, I have to also increase the amount of iron and the amount of nickel. So by cooking chromium separately, I'm able to increase or decrease the amount of chromium independent of the iron and the nickel. And I also going to cook up some iron here. I have an iron metal to cook iron separately. But that's another show in itself, so we'll see. But anyway, chromium, for this chromium, I use the disc, okay? Some metals we can get in wire form, and some we I can only get in disc form. So chromium was one that was easily obtainable in disc form, and I don't mind using disc form. There's a lot of surface area on these discs, so there might even be lots more surface area on this than a small rod. So to use this, I've used my top, I call it my coin top. See, it has this little hole here. The chromium goes in there. I'll show you a picture of it sitting in the beaker on my top. So you do not need heat with chromium at all. So I print my tops in ABS plastic, because they will then be able to be cooked tonight. You can use them on platinum and gold, which get cooked to 90 degrees C. But if you're not going to heat the water above 60 degrees C, you can use PLA plastic, which is easier to print on. These schematics for all of these things and the stuff that I make there's a link in the description, so you can, of course, print these up yourself or take them to a 3D print shop and get them printed. Now, our cathode, of course, is chromium. Our anode I used is the carbon rod. If you guys are familiar with my series, you'll know I like the carbon rod in most instances. If you don't have a carbon rod, you can use a copper rod. That'll be fine. Copper rods work. Here's a copper rod right here. It's just a piece of, actually this is a piece of copper from electrical wiring, 12 gauge electrical wire. That will work as an anode. No material comes off the anode, so you don't have to worry. You're not going to get copper in there. You're only going to get is chromium in there. I like carbon because it's more energetic. It gives more electrons in the water faster. But carbon has its limitations as far as heat, amount of current you can put through carbon. But it's fine for chromium. Now for chromium, you are going to use my stock solution of sodium citrate, and there'll be a link in the description to how to make my stock solution of sodium citrate. Now you're going to use your power supply at mine is set for 37.5 volts. I think anything above 24 will work fine. All right, you don't need a 60 volt supply for this like you do with the platinum. You don't need to current limit it, but you will need to monitor the current. So you may have to put a current meter in series with your power supply. Because what you're going to do is you're going to drip the sodium citrate stock solution into the beaker until you reach 20 milliamps of current. And then you're going to stop. And then you're going to let it cook for about an hour. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half, until you get this color that you got right here. And then you will be at 21 parts per million. That's how you're going to do your chromium. I will have an official start to finish on chromium down the road, but you don't really need it. It's one of the more simpler things to make, as long as you're familiar with how colloidals work and stuff like that. If you want like detailed information, or like say this is the first time you're coming to my website and the first time you're seeing this chromium video, you're all excited, you want chromium, but I've negated a lot of information that you might need to make colloidals, then I'll put a link in the description to my colloidal silver video on how I make colloidal silver, which I go into a lot of detail. It's very similar to colloidal silver, except you're going to be adding the sodium citrate to 20 milliamps of current. Anyway, I thank you very much for visiting my channel and taking the time to listen to my stuff. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I'm always looking for suggestions and new things to do. I'm Hermes, this is Reality Creative Video, and I will talk to you all very soon.